Wherever you may live, from the Yukon to the Yucatan, there is the big sky above you.
I have worked in these fields for so long it feels like forever. I have wished on these stars, I have fallen so far from the man that I was, from the man that I was. There's a big sky above us and a good earth below. Yeah, yeah. The world keeps turning, we're all learning until we can get it right. We're living under the big sky, living under the big sky, living under the big sky. I will live there. Wash the dirt from my hands as I curse the muddy water. There is work to be done. Feel so old for so young. There's a long way to go. Such a long, long way to go. There's a big sky above us and a good earth below. Hey, yeah. The world keeps turning and we're all learning until we can get it right. We're living under the big sky, living under the big sky, living under the big sky. Yeah, we're living under the big, big sky, under the big, big sky. Yeah. Under the big, big sky, under that big sky. Hey, hey. There's a big sky above us and a good earth below. Hey, yeah. The world keeps turning round. We're all learning now till we can get it right. Till we can get it right. Till we can get it right. We're living under the big sky. Living under the big sky. Living under the big sky. I will live in it. Living under the big sky, living under the big sky, living under the big sky.
Hello, I'm Graham Greene, and over the next hour we'll share a variety of people, songs, and environment from the Yukon to the Yucatan. Hemingway Corner sang of the big sky above us. But these days our skies are often troubled and tormented in ways that we can't recognize, like winters that come too early and stay too long, twisters that blow up suddenly, and violent freak storms that just spring up from nowhere. And unless you lived in a cave, you probably already noticed. I'm not sure Henry Ford realized when he started making cars that nearly 100 years later there'd be over 50 million miles of highways around the globe. Now, there are a lot of us on this planet, and most of us drive cars, and they're one of the biggest reasons for climate change. The emissions our cars spew out are captured in the atmosphere, and that turns the globe into one big greenhouse, and that changes our weather. But what are we supposed to do? North America's a big place, we have to get around. However, there are technologies for fuel-efficient cars and cars that don't burn fossil fuel at all. But for the moment, let's just see what we can do with what we already have. Ashna is going to introduce us to some innovative Canadians and their solutions to this problem.
Cars are one of the biggest sources of environmental pollution, contributing to smog, acid rain, and global warming, not to mention what they do to our health. We all have to start making changes and work together on solutions. Environment Canada is helping by funding projects that are working to create healthier environments in communities across the country. Let's meet some people who have made a real difference even in their own backyards.
We're here in Vancouver meeting with Jack Bell, a real local hero when it comes to reducing the number of cars on the road.
Well, the idea actually came to me about 15 years ago. And I'd be going out to the plant in the morning. All the cars would be coming from Langley, going west, and hundreds of thousands of cars, all with one person in them. And I thought someday I'd like to do something about it. Well, we started with one van, of course, and now we're up to 95. Because my main ambition is to get cars off the road, and I don't care how they do, whether people walk or bicycle to work, or share their cars, or share their vans, or share the buses. And the buses cannot provide adequate service for everybody. So van pooling and ride sharing is by far the best.
What do you think your friends would say if you asked them to drive their car less? The woman you're about to meet, Peggy Guess, did just that.
We got together one evening for dinner at my house. After that meeting, they went away and tried to reduce their car use by 50%. There were some successes out of this, and people feel extremely proud of themselves. It doesn't have to be an intimidating challenge. It just means that there are appropriate places for the car, and there are less appropriate places for the car. You'll find that there's a whole other benefit. You'll start enjoying the outdoors a little bit more. When you're using your car less, you are more involved with the city around you. I would encourage people to just step out once and give it a try, and they might find that they really get hooked on it.
For those of us who drive, we can remember that the way we drive and take care of our car directly affects the environment. Can you believe that each car on average pumps out more than 4 tons of air pollution every year? Natural Resources Canada has a program called AutoSmart. It shows us practical tips on how to buy, drive, and maintain cars in ways to save fuel, the environment, and also leave some money in the pocket. Canada is huge. That's us there. But compared to other countries, our population is actually quite small. People population, that is. But our car population is something else. Did you know that Canada has one of the highest ratios of cars to people in the world? Nearly 1 vehicle for every 2 Canadians. Let's face it, Canadians love their cars. But the convenience of driving, like most conveniences, comes with a price tag. The more we drive, the more we pollute. Exhaust emissions. Not a pretty picture. Driving at a moderate, consistent speed is one of the best things you can do for the environment. Slowing down and speeding up like this is really a waste of fuel. That engine is doing some serious overtime. Keep a respectful distance between yourself and other cars. If you watch what's going on around you, you can plan your moves to be smooth. It's the sudden moves that burn the extra fuel. Besides, by tailgating, your limited vision increases your chance of getting stuck in a lane blocked with heavy traffic. If your speedometer is doing this, you're wasting fuel. This is efficient. A nice, easy transition when you do have to slow down or speed up. You don't want to do this. Quick starts are a major waste of gas. If you're driving a manual, move gently but quickly up to the higher gears. That's where the engine works best and uses less gas. Remember the 30-second rule. If you're waiting for someone or popping in the store for some milk and you'll be longer than half a minute, turn off your car. Because if you don't, you're throwing away money and doing serious damage to everything that breathes. Imagine what would be possible if we all did this.
Oh, global emissions will double over the next 25 years. The good news is that every individual can make a difference. Like today, choose one thing to cut car emissions and try to do it every day. I think I'll remember that 30-second idle rule and turn my car off when I'm waiting for somebody.
Hi, we're Hemingway Corner. I'm David.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Scott, and we're here hoping that everybody watching will help do something to save our planet.
Every time you waste energy, you take it out on the environment. So start saving energy today. It's not that hard to do.
Don't touch that remote. Stay tuned for Eco Variety. Here's a friend of mine who's been telling us where it's at for a long time. She's a dream maker and a star walker, and she will definitely take us up where we belong.
Artist. I travel throughout the world. One day I'm in a major city. The next day I'm in an area where Indigenous people know things that you might not know. Whether it's the Arctic Circle, whether it's Australia's Aboriginal population, whether it's people in Africa, New Zealand, the Polynesian Islands, whether it's Indigenous people from Japan, from the US, from Canada, from South America, from Central America. These people have something to contribute to the future. You may never have thought about it. If you're thinking about protecting the rainforests, think about protecting the people who know how to protect the rainforests. There's medicine in culture. Miigwech.
Here's Grandma Twyla from the Seneca Nation.
And nothing is separated, absolutely nothing. The greatest connection that we have is our breathing. Everything on this earth breathes in some way or other, whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal. The wind breathes, and we cannot live or survive in any state unless we breathe, and that is the breath of life.
It's the third planet from the sun. A tiny blue sphere spinning for a moment in time. A remarkable place that was kind enough to yield just the right elements to sustain a phenomenon called life. Where each creature is as unique as this world we call home. And a day begins in much the same way for all. Maybe that's when it crosses your mind. In the warmth from a ray of sun, or the kindness of a stranger, it occurs to you how one life touches so many others. And you begin to see how all things are connected, like the blood that unites one family. And you come to realize that mankind did not weave the web of life. We're merely a strand in it. And whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves on the third planet from the sun.
Hi, this is Fred Eaglesmith, and this horse's name is Fred as well, and we think it's time you stopped horsing around with the environment. This letter that I write to you, Dad, well, I will not sign my name. For though I did not want to tell you, I felt I had to anyway. It's rained for weeks and it flooded the creek, and I lost the whole crop of grain. And the man at the bank wouldn't loan me the money to plant that field again. So today, Dad, I sold the old John Deere. The man who bought it's gonna fix it up and put it in a museum. I I guess that's where this whole thing's gone. A picture for people to pay to look upon. That's how they lived in the old days, son. The sheep's in the meadow, can't find the cows. Little boy blue, he's got a job in town. Old McAllister came by yesterday, and he said that he's had enough. Between the government and the subsidies, well, he just couldn't keep up. And if welfare checks was farming, well, he'd simply just rather not. And I didn't say nothing, Dad, as I watched him drive off. But today, Dad, I sold the old John Deere. The man who bought it's gonna fix it up and put it in a museum. I guess that's where this whole thing's gone. A picture for people to pay to look upon. That's how they lived in the old days, son. The sheep's in the meadow, can't find the cows. Little boy blue, he's got a job in town. Mary says it'll be okay if nothing else goes wrong. And she got a job at the 5 and Dime, and the hours ain't too long. I hope this letter finds you well. I'm sorry how it just goes on, but I had to tell somebody, Dad, and you were the only one. And today, Dad, I sold the old John Deere.
Another way we can make sure that we all have a healthy world in the future is to share our habitat with the other creatures of the earth. Of all the threats to wildlife, human activities that cause the loss of land are the most damaging. We need to open our hearts and our eyes to these creatures and realize that they have just as much right to exist as we do. The Metro Toronto Zoo is part of a North American program with a leading role in the protecting and nurturing of endangered species. Here's Donna Roberts.
Many of us have felt uncomfortable going to the zoo. Seeing wild animals in confined spaces, somehow it just never seemed right to me. But after visiting this zoo, I was happy to learn about the North American Species Survival Plan, a zoo program that actually saves endangered species from extinction.
It seems that people who ran zoos in years past believed that if you lost an animal, you could just go back to the wild and take another. But zoos now realize that wildlife is not an inexhaustible resource. The Species Survival Plan grew out of zoos wanting to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. John Carnio of the Metro Toronto Zoo says the program's focus is on the population of a species.
But an individual can only live a certain amount of time. Very few animals live past 50 or 60 years. Very few people live past 110 or so. So there's a definite lifespan to an individual. Populations can go on for thousands and thousands of years if they're managed properly.
So how do they go about saving a species? Zoos work together on captive breeding programs where animals from one zoo are loaned to another for breeding. This ensures a diverse gene pool and prevents inbreeding. Take these gorillas, for example. This zoo alone has 7 gorillas, so before long, inbreeding would affect the population. But zoos together have a couple of hundred gorillas, and by moving them around, you have enough genetic diversity to keep the gorilla population healthy for 200 to 300 years. The North American wood bison was nearly extinct in Canada when it was decided that captive breeding could help turn things around. In 1977, the Metro Toronto Zoo received 7 males and 3 females from the last pure population of wood bison in the wild.
By 10 years later, we in fact reintroduced over 40 animals back to the wild from this group of 10. And since then, the animals have been downlisted from endangered to threatened.
Unfortunately, some animals can probably never be reintroduced to the wild, like the tiger.
3 of those kinds of tigers, the Chinese tiger, the Siberian, and the Sumatran tiger, are what we call critically endangered. That means there's a 50% probability that in the next 5 years, those cats will be extinct in the wild. There's an awful lot of pressure on the tigers in the wild from poaching for use in medicines and also from habitat destruction. And it's really sad that such a magnificent creature that symbolizes wilderness may be lost to us very soon.
Something we can do to help the tiger is to support groups working to help save these beautiful creatures.
Different organizations that are promoting tiger conservation. World Wildlife Fund is one of them. The Metro Toronto Zoo is another. And together, collectively, we're working to save the tiger, not only in zoos, but in the wild. Think about the products that you use in your life and whether or not they might have an impact, and ask where they come from. And not only medicinal products, but perhaps wood products as well.
The Indian rhino is another animal in trouble, mainly because their original home is in a part of the world where a lot of humans live and our population just keeps growing.
Human population has to slow down. I mean, this whole planet can really only support so many life forms. That life form can be all one species or it can be a diversity of species. People have to put political pressure on and make environment an important matter, not just business or short-term gain.
So today, zoos are helping us to learn about the animals they hold in captivity and their brothers and sisters still trying to survive in the wild.
There's many people who never have the opportunity to see animals in the wild and probably never will. And I think if you don't see something and learn to appreciate it, you'll have no vested interest in saving it. And so I view animals in zoos as ambassadors of their counterparts in the wild, to serve as reminders to us of the very tenuous situation that exists and the beauty that exists in nature. And perhaps by having these animals here, it will help the wild animals as well.
Of course, it's not just the plants and the animals that are interconnected. Here's Rosie Emery with some friends.
Well, we're all interconnected. The earth and the sun and the moon. Yes, we're all interconnected. And we'll find out very soon that if we mess with one, then we mess with the whole. And soon there'll be nothing to mess with at all, because we're all interconnected. We better make a move. So if we drive all our fancy cars, and if we cut down all our trees, we're gonna drown in the acid showers. Yeah, yeah, we'll choke on the smog and the breeze. But maybe we'll be stirred into a radical change. It's gonna take a lot of effort, it can be arranged, because we're all interconnected. We better make a move, so you will see that bee going buzzing by. Well, she's an integral part of you and I. You walk through the mountains, majestic and tall. You start to realize that we're incredibly small. All the fish in the ocean, all the birds in the sky. Can we live in this madness or watch the world die? Because we're all interconnected. We better make a move. Yes, we're all interconnected. The earth and the sun and the moon. Yes, we're all interconnected. And we'll find out very soon that if we mess with one, then we mess with the whole. And soon there'll be nothing to mess with at all, because we're all interconnected. We better make a move. Ba-da-doo-da-da, yeah, yeah.
Stay tuned for Eco Variety. Our next story is about someone who has a will to understand and change a dramatic situation. There are less than 300 Vancouver Island marmots living today, where there should be thousands. Andrew Bryant wants to know why and how to stop their rapid slide to extinction.
In the darkness before dawn, for 5 months of the year, Andrew Bryant begins his day very early. This scientist knows there's a tiny population of mountain dwellers for whom the clock is running down and time is running out. Andrew has dedicated 8 years tagging and studying marmots to find out why this animal is so close to extinction. The Vancouver Island marmot is even more rare than the giant panda of China and is found nowhere else in the world. And like the panda, it's an endangered species. The mystery that baffles researchers is why the marmot is disappearing from perfect habitat here in these alpine meadows. These slopes are covered with grasses, flowers, and berries, ideal sources of food that could easily support a growing population of marmots. Monitoring individual animals helps us understand why they are so close to extinction. With so few of these animals around, every opportunity to study a marmot close up is critical. The team hasn't seen a marmot in days, but now 2 approach the trap, an adult female with her young pup. As Andrew approaches the captured marmot, she reacts.
That's a marmot whistle. That's a very alarmed marmot. If you get a large marmot in here and she whistles when your head's near the trap, it's literally deafening.
After being weighed, the young female is carefully tranquilized so Andrew and his team can examine her more thoroughly.
And here is a young of the year Vancouver Island marmot, one of the rarest animals in the world.
Andrew works quickly to avoid stressing the marmot. He knows that with this highly endangered species, the survival of each individual animal, especially young females like this one, is critically important.
Hind foot 8.1, I'll get the notes. Okay.
Andrew hopes this tiny marmot will help us understand why her species is dying out. Part of the answer could very well lie here. Marmots who live in these logged-out clear cuts are at greater risk of being killed by predators. They also run a greater risk of dying from the extreme cold during hibernation, especially the young pups. This rising death rate could be making it impossible for the marmots to start new colonies. Meanwhile, a portable operating theater is assembled to implant a tracking device in a second marmot caught today.
Probably around 2%.
The transmitter implanted today brings her closer to our world and to the recovery team trying to save her and the other marmots here on the mountain. As soon as she's released, the transmitter begins sending steady rhythmic signals that reflect her body temperature and location. She's already begun her important work of sending messages to those of us who are willing to listen, wherever she might be.
There is no one any better than anyone else. The animals are just as important as humankind. And when the two-legged humankind wakes up and begins to look at the animals for their lessons, then they'll begin to feel harmony within themselves. Until that time comes, they're going to be still continuing to destroy nature's gifts.
Long ago, before the first human was born, before the first tree began reaching for the sun, her life began. She breathes and grows. Her blood rushes through her veins. She can speak her mind. And she can feel pain. She can feed us when we're hungry. She can heal us when we're sick. She has the power to give us energy and the power to make us smile. She's not a thing. She's the earth. And there's a reason we call her mother. Every day, 19 more of the Earth species disappear. Forever. But there is hope. With your help, whales have begun to return. The bald eagle is off the endangered list. And 1 million acres of rainforest were protected forever. We only have one planet. We only get one chance. Our mother needs our help. Do something. Anything.
Jane Siberry is constantly on the move, always evolving. Her music holds new notes every time we hear her. And for someone who specializes in words, she pays a lot more than just lip service in her commitment to the environment.
Everything you say, everything you do will come back to stand with you. Everything you trust, everything you feel will come back to kneel with you. Oh my, oh my, 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 oh my, my. Mama, mama, please come quick, something's wrong. So many signs, and coming faster all the time. Mama, mama, something's wrong. Spring is taken way too long. Where have all the sweet birds gone? There's only silence where there once was song. Precious candle, your light is your own. Precious children, your light is your own. Mama, mama, hear our song. Keep our children safe and strong. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird don't sing, Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring. And if that diamond ring don't shine, Mama's gonna buy you. Oh, and I say, oh, and I say, oh, sweet children, keep us safe and strong.
Hello, my name is Jane Siberry, and I'm very glad to be part of the Eco Variety, celebrating this beautiful planet that we all live on, that we all share, that we all care about, and to walk forward with all of you in the name of a healthy, continuingly beautiful place to live for our oh so brief existence here. And I wish you all well.
Environment Week is a tremendous opportunity, as every week is, to recommit ourselves to a healthy environment. It's also time to showcase projects that are making a difference for the better in terms of restoring our environment. As the program shows, there is commitment, there is energy, there is ideas, not only in Canada, but indeed across North America, to do something about that environment. And that's where you and I come in. What can we do to make a difference? Can we adopt a portion of a stream and return it to its original state, as we are trying to do in your quest with the Emery Creek? Can we reduce energy consumption? Can we drive a little less? And as a result, allow people to breathe easier in all of our communities. Above all, the attitude of everybody making a difference is absolutely imperative, because we really do.
Stay tuned for Eco Variety. I'm sure at one time or another, someone close to you has been very ill. I bet you did whatever you could to help them get better. Maybe you helped them stop smoking, or maybe just made a nice pot of chicken soup. Well, that's sort of what we have to do now with our Mother Earth, administer a little TLC. And that's just what our next guest did, winning YTV's Environmental Achievement Awards for his efforts.
I think it's very important for people to fight for what they believe in and to realize that they can make changes. I became interested in how much motor oil was left in the 1-liter containers after you fill your car. Found out that the average amount was 37 mils. When multiplied by national sales, it comes out to almost 5 million liters of new unused motor oil that's going into our landfill sites. Through my letter writing, I was able to meet with the president of Imperial Oil. Now, it's hard to get them to make changes that you want, but you still have to go for it. Well, I grew up skating on Oakbank Pond, and when I heard that it was in trouble, I wanted to do everything I could to try and help it. The pond was facing pollution from road salt, lawn fertilizers, and excess duck waste, as well as development in the area, including storm sewers and large houses. I suggested that all development be examined for its potential impact on the pond. Signs have gone up asking people not to feed the ducks, and the City of Vaughan has agreed to spend over $700,000 in a rehabilitation study.
What he did was a really good thing for the community and the environment, in that it is hard to find little ponds like that around here. We really like to skate there, and if it went, we couldn't skate there anymore.
I think David has been very influential to me, and he's taught me a lot. Everybody needs to be more environmentally conscious these days.
You just have to have the will. If you have the will, then the support will follow.
The Monarch Butterfly appears fragile, but appearances are deceiving. These little guys make a yearly round trip from Canada, clear across the United States to their wintering quarters in Mexico. A sign of fair summer weather here in Canada, the monarch's survival is in danger. The main culprit? Loss of habitat.
The monarch is the only migrating butterfly in the world. The monarchs from southern Canada and the northern U.S. arrive at their wintering homes in Mexico's Oyamel forests in November. Here they find the perfect conditions for reproduction: warm weather, food, and protection. The monarchs reproduce and die, and their offspring are the butterflies which journey north in March. But this annual phenomenon may be in danger. The habitat is being lost as locals cut trees to make more room for crops and make money selling the wood. So the challenge is to preserve the butterflies' home while making sure farmers and local residents have the income they need to survive. And ecotourism in the region is proof that there is value in preserving the monarch's habitat. Protected breeding areas are being established for the butterflies. This tree nursery provides new trees for reforestation while giving jobs to locals. The plan is to generate income from planting rather than cutting down trees. The monarch's survival depends on it.
Well, one of the things I do as Minister of Natural Resources is try and use alternative transportation fuels to try and encourage people in Canada to think about perhaps using an ethanol blend, using a methanol blend, using propane, using natural gas in their vehicles. And all of that helps in terms of emissions and the kinds of substances that are being put into the air that we breathe. Well, one of the things I do now that the weather is better back home in Edmonton is rather than take my car the 4 blocks to the corner grocery store, I walk. And it seems to me that that's the best thing that we can do for the environment and also get some physical fitness at the same time.
It seems a lot of us are renovating. But did you know that installing new energy-efficient appliances, adding insulation to all cavities, and making some simple changes could save energy and even money? So if you aren't renovating, maybe you should be. And if you are, think of the savings. Remember, using energy wisely is good for the environment. And that's good for us all. So let's be energetic about using energy efficiently.
Stay tuned for Eco Variety. What? Oh, my buddy Bruce Colburn's got a question for us. Just a second.
Rainforest, mist and mystery, teeming green. Green brain facing the bottom. Climate control center for the world. Ancient cord coexistence hacked by parasitic greedhead scam. From Sarawak to Amazonas, Costa Rica to mangy BC hills, Cortege rhythm of falling timber. What kind of currency grows in these new deserts, these brand new floodplains? Wildlife at a rate of a species every single day. Take out people who've lived with this for 100,000 years. Inject 1 billion burgers worth of beef. Grain eaters. Methane dispensers. Through thinning ozone, waves fall on wrinkled earth. Gravity, light, ancient refuse of stars. Speak of a drowning. But this is something other. Busy monster eats dark holes in the spirit world, where wild things have to go to disappear forever.
Indeed, you do have the power, and so do I. The power of one individual to make a choice. And we can choose to support these people and organizations that are working so hard to preserve habitat and reduce pollutants. We also need to recognize that often the best people to deal with local problems are just that. People who live in the area where the problem is and understand the situation. As Buffy St. Marie said, we need to help and encourage these people. And on an individual basis, if we can just get back to that one place where we respect this beautiful world around us and treat it like an old friend, then we'll be making some headway. And each of us can choose just one thing today that will help us live in an earth-friendly way. Personally, I think I'll turn my car off if I have to wait for more than 30 seconds. Or maybe I'll just walk, or ride my bike, or rollerblade. Rollerblade for the 90s, that'll do it. Yep. Skateboard, horseback ride, get my neighbor to carry me. I lose a few pounds first, I guess, but not that heavy. Well, exercise. Exercise. Exercise, yes. Ah, what a lovely day.
Living under the big sky.